Well, good evening and welcome to N-Trak's Meetup. We appreciate you coming this evening. We hope you'll come back often. We hope you'll invite your friends to join us. We have a great website, N-Traksmodeling.com. N-Traksmodeling.com. If you'll go and register on that website, then you'll get reminder notices for all of our Zoom meetings and train shows, and you'll be sure not to miss any of them. The Amherst train show started today, and Rich Humphrey emailed me yesterday and told me about it. Rich, are you here? Rich is probably working. Rich is
No,
takes care of the signal.
Wait,
I'm sorry?
he's on, but he just stepped away.
Okay. Let me go to our train show then. Our train show starts March 2021. We have three great sponsors: the Great Scale Model Train Show in Timonium, Maryland, MRH Media LLC, and Soundtracks. We've got special events. We've got door prizes. You have to register at our website in order to win a door prize. That's another reason to register. And we hope that you'll join us and hope you'll enjoy it as much as we think that you will. So Ed, if you could run the videos, please.
The N-Trak's virtual train show is sponsored by the Great Scale Model Train Show at the Maryland State Fairgrounds in Timonium, Maryland. At over 3.5 acres, we host hundreds of vendors, dozens of operating layouts, and thousands of attendees. Manufacturers, dealers, and individual sellers display, demonstrate, and sell products and services. Layouts inspire attendees, and free clinics impart how-tos and tips for every skill level. Learn more at www.gsmts.com.
We founded MRH Media in 2008 with the announcement of our top quality, ad-supported, free, digital-only magazine for the hobby. Now remember, the iPhone was barely a year old at this point, and the tablet would not be invented for another 2 years yet. Here in 2021, our vision has come true. Welcome to model railroading via the internet. MRH Media is delighted to be a sponsor of the N-Trak's virtual train show.
From our humble beginnings in 1990, Soundtracks has grown to be an industry leader in model railroad sound and technology. We offer a wide range of sounds to fit any era and any modeling interest. Our products boast innovative features developed alongside real railroaders to improve your modeling experience. We are proud to say that all of our decoders are made right here in the USA and thoroughly tested to ensure reliable operation every time. Be sure to visit soundtracks.com and use promo code NTMSHIP to get free shipping on your order, or visit your local retailer today.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. Rich, are you still gone? Are you back?
Oh, he's not yet.
Okay.
And he came back and then left again.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to pass him by tonight. The next My Build is Saturday, February the 27th. Chris, of course, does the moderation for that. And I hope that you'll join us and participate. It's a lot of fun. You never know who's going to be here and show their models. So if you have something you're working on or halfway finished or whatever, bring it and show it and talk about it a little bit. We'll all learn from you. I also want to talk about a minute the Association of Professional Model Makers. We have a presentation we're making for that organization on the 17th of February at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And the thrust of the presentation is my opinion that model railroaders have the talent, have the abilities, and the desire to become professional model makers in their occupation. And we're going to hope that we can get some sponsorships going for model railroaders and hopefully some internship going for model railroaders. And that's what the presentation is all about. Every model railroader that hears about it is invited to attend for free and participate however they want to. And we hope it is successful and that you'll join us. Now I'd like to turn to Paul Thompson with Quick Tips.
Great, thanks, Jim. I'll just share my screen, and I warn everybody tonight, this one could be a little bit different. Okay, what you're looking at right there are 2 tank cars. And one of the things that always bothered me, and I guess people are going to call me a rivet counter or some other kind of freak, but if you look at the ends of these tank cars, the one on the left has the 110 scale wheels and the other one has the 088. And it always bothered me that people did really nice cars and then turned around and put wheels that just didn't look right to me. Now, let me see if I can, there we go. This is a typical tank car with the larger wheels. And this is one that I've converted to the narrower wheels. And I was using this particular light stuff so that you could see it, but it may not have turned out all that well. Now, this is the basic difference. And this is one of the things that I wanted to point out. And this is my tip for the night, if you want to put it that way. This is the truck that has 088 on the top and 110 on the bottom. And some people don't like the way 088 runs, or they may have switches that snag them. And this is my way of sort of getting around it if you wanted to put a nice 088 wheel on the end of a tank car to make it look good. And it's just something that I figured it's less expensive to begin with, because you really don't see the inner axle when you're looking at the thing that way. And that's one of the things that I thought I'd just kind of point out. And this is the difference on 2 tank cars. The one on the left has the 110, the one on the right, the other one. The photograph here doesn't really show it all that well, unfortunately. This one might do a little better. And here we go. This is 110. And this is the 088. Unfortunately, the 088's being bright, the photograph didn't show up well. Anyway, that's it for tonight, guys. And I hope I haven't offended everybody by putting something on that the rivet counters might want. Thanks, guys.
I think that's a great idea. I had never thought of anything like that. Does it go through the switches still, Paul? I mean, do you still have problems with that?
Not as much by putting on the one axle. It's just kind of finishes off the end of the model, if you want to put it that way. Okay. And by leaving the 110 on, it helps it go through the switches and whatever. Actually, I've never had a problem running 088 myself, even on Fremo. But if you have some of the older switches, the 088 will drop down in the flangeways a bit. Other than that, they work fine.
Gotcha. Great tip. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to go to Bob Farquhar, who's going to talk to us about structure building. Bob, welcome.
All right, I'll share here. And I'll get there. Come on here. There we go. So this is the third of 9 series we have on the structure building techniques. This is about paint and paint effect. The first slide I'm going to show is actually from the last one. What's the, I talked about techniques for doing the wood grain effect on and so on. And on the left here is a bristle brush. That's the one I use all the time. This is a steel bristle brush. It does a little bit heavier grain type of thing in the wood. Now this is a nylon. I don't even bother with that one. That's even good for dust off things. This one on the right, if you really want to do a heavy duty grain, this is called a file card. And it's used for cleaning out metal filings out of bastard files and stuff like that. And it's really, really aggressive. So I don't use this very, very much. But anyway, so back onto this one. So I never use a full white or full black. The most of the white I use is warm white, and the most black I use is grimy black. You notice some, you see some you can see some kits, and it doesn't look right somehow. The windows are pure white, and they just jump out at you. And so anyway, I don't use the full colors. So what I do use is quite often now I use a grouch sponge. If you use a regular sponge, there's a lot of holes in them. They're larger holes, and you see the holes in here are very small. And when I put acrylic paint on a piece of wax paper, then I just kind of drag that sponge across it, and then I can dip it onto just blot it on. And I want these pieces missing a bit of paint here and there. I want like a worn paint, not bad, but just worn out. And that's the effect you get from them. Now, this case is I used a red iron oxide acrylic paint, and that's what it is. What I put on the brush. Sorry, the sponge on here, and then I use my brass bristle brush. Say that fast 3 times, and on through, and it changes the color and also wears the paint, and it gives a nice effect, I figure. And the weathering is already done at this point. That's an example here. Now, this one here is just another one. This same idea. Then this is on a scribe signing, so I just blot it on the paint and then let it dry, and then I can brush it off with the brass bristle brush. It dirties it up quite nicely. I use a lot of pan pastels, and I use them for painting. For example, all my details are painted with pan pastels, and this roofing, for example, is pan pastels. And I like the effect because this is a Bar Mills kit, and the roofing comes with little nail holes in the what they apply or what they use for the roofing material, the tar paper type of thing. So it leaves that you can see nail holes in here too. So I like that effect of the pan pastels rather than using any paints and stuff like that. Now, for peeling paint, a lot of people, they talk about the using a rubber cement, and the problem with this takes forever to use a rubber cement. My idea is you do your base coloring, like the alcohol and any ink or that grayish color as a background color, and when that dries, you dot on a bunch of rubber cement with the end of a toothpick, a little pointed toothpick. And it takes forever to do that. And when that dries, you paint over top of it, like with a brush or with a sponge, whatever you do. And then when that dries, you can use a tape inside out, and just stick on it. Stick on there as it lift off the rubber cement. The leaves the paint to curl up a bit and looks like a peel paint. What I like using is this example here, and I use the gray backing for color anyway for the staining, alcohol and Indian inks. And then when that dries, I paint on a layer of mineral spirits, and I let that sit on there for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. Then I put in a paint like what in this case is warm white is the paint I'm using. And just just paint it right on, just dab it right on there. It doesn't matter if you're doing thick or thin or whatever. And I wait about 10-15 minutes and use the folding over masking tape, and you pick it up, and then when you sticks to there, what happens, the paint doesn't like the mineral spirits because it's acrylic paint, won't stick to the mineral spirits, but there's enough that does stick. So that's the effect you get. And I've used that on some other buildings I've done. This is done. This is done with peel paint. This on board, and I talked about this one previously. And I use a terry cloth towel, and I dip it into the paint, and roll it on each piece in the wood individually before it's put on the building. Then you get the peel paint effect. You get a different effect from board to board. And that's it.
Well, that's fantastic. I do appreciate it so very much. I do now want to turn to Chris, of course, and let him talk about this special project that we have coming up that's going to start the second Wednesday in March. And Greg Cassidy is going to build one of Chris's kits. He's going to do it 15 minutes at a time, once a week until it's done on Wednesdays. And Chris, if you talk about your kit and how they order the kit and so forth, we're hoping that a lot of you will build along with Greg.
Sure, I'll put it in the chat, but go to Conowingo Models. If I could type, that would help. To order. Okay. All right, so it's in the chat. Go to conowingomodels.com, and the kit that you're actually going to see in there, there's actually going to be 3 different versions in there. There's one which is the it's only up for pre-order right now. And that is the Gray Street House Company House version. That's the one with the special, it's going to have a whole foundation. It's going to have back steps, front steps, and a porch on it, along with some tar paper roofing. And like Jim mentioned, this is going to be a collaborative build. I know I've got some pictures as I'm building the prototype that I'm putting together right now. Greg Cassidy also he's a lot better at documenting things, and I'm actually going to send him the parts that he needs to show you how to complete this company house version. There's also the regular Gray Street house in HO scale, and then there's an O scale version, which is it does not have that front porch on it at all. To show you the differences here, originally it was Greg Cassidy that came up with the putting a front porch on it. And I figured in order to do that, I was going to have to actually add a foundation to it in order to make that happen. So that's what you're seeing in the upper right corner picture. In the lower left corner there, you'll see the 2 original prototypes. One is of course, the HO version, and then the O version. And the picture in the lower right, I took about 2 hours ago, and shows progress on where we are with the prototype for this company house version that you can go ahead and pre-order. It actually, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward, but in fact, I've spent a lot of time just getting the weathering right on it. In fact, I may have weathered it too much. I might have to take some of that stuff out. But anyway, if you go to conowingomodels.com, click on shop, and then you could actually narrow it down and go to where it says shop by. You can narrow it down to Conowingo Models structures, or I think that's how it's set up in there. And then it will show you all of the Conowingo Models kits that are in there. And the company house version is a pre-order. So as soon as that's done, I'll get those orders out. So I think we're looking to begin this in March.
Second Wednesday.
All right, second Wednesday of March. So that's so if you order now, we should have plenty of time to get those kits ordered, built up, and shipped out. In fact, the Postal Services still isn't back to normal. I think I had an order that took 10 days where it should have taken 3. So at least they're improving, but we still have ways to go yet. So back to you, Jim.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you and Greg doing this for us. I'm really hopeful that a lot of people will decide to build along with you. Particularly if you haven't built for a while, or maybe you haven't built at all a kit. Here's an opportunity that you can build along with Greg. You can talk to him every week, ask him questions, tell him what your problems are. When I talked to Greg, I told him, I said, as you're building along the kit, you've built it. He's got, I think, 3 that he's building right now of this same kit. And I said, you need to tell people where in the instructions they may run into a question in their mind, or they're not sure about what it says, or they're not sure how to do it. And if you'll point those areas out before they run into them, then they can get through the problems that everybody has when they build a kit. Everybody will run into one place or another where they have a question and not sure exactly what to do next. And Greg, like I say, he's building 3 of these right now for a customer of his. So if there's anybody that can help you build it, I think Greg is the man for the job. So with that said, Rich, are you back at where you can talk to us? Okay, 3rd time charm. Our featured modeler tonight is Bill Pontin. Bill, I met Bill, and he started talking to me about N-Scale, and he started talking to me about T-Trak, and I'd never heard of it before. And he still laughs every time I say that, because he thinks I just live in a wonderland, I guess. But I really think that you're going to learn a lot from Bill tonight. And Bill, I really do appreciate you joining us. So I'll turn it over to you, sir.
So, let's go on to the desktop somehow. Desktop. I'm looking for my desktop, which I can't find. There it is. The beginning. All right. Can you hear me now, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. As I say, when Jim said he'd never heard of T-Trak, I was really surprised. But this will be a talk basically on N-scale modular railroading, whether it be T-Trak or N-Trak. And I'll explain the difference as I get into the presentation. And I hope to give you the insight on the module, the modular model railroading in N-scale. And I'm a member of the Valley N-Trak Club here in Connecticut. I live in Milford. And my interest childhood, with the Lionel trains and the attic layout. Then from there, it was an ever-growing basement HO layout. And then I hiatus, I went to the Navy and a family. And when I built a small layout for my son, that was the father's son, N-scale layout. And we had fun with that. And then I tried building a N-scale layout on the back porch. And when the wife saw how much room I was taking, she goes, no. So that kind of got scrapped on the side. But
Hey, Bill,
yes.
are you sharing your screen now? Because we're just seeing you.
Uh-oh, that's not good. I see the presentation, but I don't see the.
Yeah, what you might have to do is unshare your screen.
I haven't even got the screen on there yet. Okay. End show. All right.
Yeah, the thing is sometimes the Zoom works on, you have to.
Okay, share screen.
Share screen. Then go to where the presentation window.
Okay, slideshow. Beginning. Can you see that?
No, we're still not seeing it.
Oh, great.
Well, the thing is, I do have it. You want to see if I can do it on my end?
Did you get the newer one I sent?
Yes.
Or the first one? Oh, okay. You want to try it on your end then?
All right. Nope, wait a second. Now now we got your screen up.
I gotta get off shared screen.
All right. Now we're seeing yours, correct?
Yes. Yep. That's you on there?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. All
So
right.
just say when you want me to change a slide, just say next slide.
Okay. Okay. So on the introduction slide right now, this one?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, you can go to the next slide. As I say, I'm a member of the Valley N-Trak Club here in Milford, Connecticut, and I've always been, had trained somewhere along. And one of the things was a Lionel set in the attic to a basement, which just kept growing and growing when I was a teenager and when I was in high school. And all right, what do you say? I got bitten fairly bad when I was walking by a building and I saw a couple of modules in a cabinet maker's shop window, and they were logging modules. I thought they come out of a museum somewhere, and I was really admiring them. And the fella come out and he told me what they were. They were N-Trak modules, and he belonged to the Valley N-Trak Club. And I go, oh wow! And so that was in 2001. All right, next slide. So in addition, I'm a member of the N-Rail that used to be called N-Trak organization, but because there is the N-Trak, N-Trak, that is the larger module, which I'll explain, and the T-Trak. So they decided to go N-Rail. Are you seeing my pointer?
No. No.
Oh, okay. All right, next slide. All right, N-Rail, it was changed to N-Rail because as you can see down there, there's N-Trak, Fremo, Mod-Trak, there's all kinds of different tracks, and they didn't want to get it confused. So N-Rail is I guess you can say the umbrella, basically, of the modular railroading and N-scale.
Is there any difference in the gauge with all that different?
No, it's all N-scale. Next slide. All right, N-Rail was started by Jim Fitzgerald, and I've heard his name mentioned by a couple of members here. They've met him, and he started it, and then he started published a newsletter, and it became a formal organization in 1994. And believe it or not, N-scale is the second. Sorry, you HO people and ON people. N-scale is the second most popular scale in North America. And next slide.
Excuse me 1 second, Bill.
Yes.
Ed, this is another person that just sent me an email that said
Okay.
that he is not getting the show.
He is not getting the show. All right. Is he not able to log on? Or is he's on and just not seeing anything?
He says, if you are on, I am not getting the show. It is not YouTube. I also did not get you last week, January the 23rd.
Okay. Right now we're having just found out we have a small issue with YouTube, so we are not broadcasting on at this time. However, we are recording it, and we'll see about getting it, not live, but we gotta double check with TC with the settings for YouTube.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All right, next slide.
I'm sorry, Bill, to interrupt you, but
That's all right. No, next slide. Ed. All right, everyone says, oh boy, 1 in 160. Yep, there is an advantage. We've got a lot more real estate on our modules than, some of the larger scales. And lot of people find them convenient for home layouts because of their limited spaces, in the basement or a bedroom, wherever they're going to set up a layout. And, you can get longer contests on your layouts because you're scaling a larger area. Disadvantages, yeah, you need some magnification for detailing smaller items, and good manual dexterity for handling small items is required. Next slide. Here we go. And scale and gauge. The terms are often inaccurately interchanged. Scale is defined as the ratio or portion of a model, whereas gauge is the distance between the rails. And N, it's 9 millimeters, close to it, 8.97 millimeters. Next slide. All right. If you go on to, well, you can put just about anything in, N-Trak or N-Rails, T-Trak, you'll come up to their website. And this publication here is available for making N-Trak modules. And I'll explain that here in a minute. That publication, I think, is $19, but it's full of everything. All right, next slide, Ed. All right, here's the basic dimensions of an N-Trak module. And the key to it, on the left there, you'll see that it's 40 inches from the floor to the top of the rails. Now that has to be adjustable because, well, like if we go up to the show there in the Big E in Springfield, Massachusetts, in the Mallory building, that is the livestock show area, and the floor is sloped so they can flush the floor. And wow, we have to actually put blocks under the far side of the layout, but even still, we still have to adjust. On the right side, there are 3 rails, and they're normally colored. The outside rail is red, the center one is yellow, and the inside one is blue. Now, those are the ones that the most common clubs use, and the red rail, which is the one closest to the public, is normally reserved for DCC. And the other rails, they interchange back and forth depending on what members, how many members have DCC equipment. The tracks you'll see end 2.5 inches from the edge. They do not run to the edge. You have to run ballast there, but you don't run tracks out to the very end. The reason for this is when these modules are clamped together, there is a special, well, an Atlas section of track which is 5 inches, and that is dropped in to connect the modules track-wise. All right. Now there are other rails that they add to this. This is a good one here. You can go to that one. That's good. This I saw at a clinic at one of the Big E train shows there. Boy, when I started out, yeah, bigger is better. I don't care how much it weighs. You've heard of brick outhouses. Well, that's what people start out by doing. But as you start getting a little older, you start, this is too heavy. And I'm up there at the top right now. I like those little 25-pound modules. That's why I've gone to T-Trak. But I was involved in N-Trak, and that's what I first started with in the club. Next slide. This is my first N-Trak module. It was 2 4-footers, and I think it was the second showing in the Amherst Train Show in Springfield, Massachusetts, that it took People's Choice. Next slide. That module, I wanted to depict a canyon beyond the viewing area, and my original goal was to run a T-scale track down there with trains running continuously, and it would just come out in the areas you could see it. But at that time, I looked at the cost of those T-Trak trains, an engine and a couple of cars, and I go, wow, I can't do it. So I just put a lake in down there. But they said, you can't put a gorge in the back. Why can't I? As long as the 3 rails are out there, at the height everyone else modules can connect to them, what else can I do? No. So that's what I did. Next slide. All right, this is how I transport them. The two modules book together, or you say box together, so that the skyboards are out, and the legs that I support these are used to bolt the two modules together. In this way here, the scenery is protected. I can flop that in the truck wherever I'm carrying it. Now, it'd be impossible to lift this, but I'm sure you all know what tip weight is. I get to my vehicle and I just put one side in and just, I'm only lifting half of it and slide it in my vehicle. All right, next slide. You can see down between the two modules how close the scenery comes. It was a little planning to figure out where the mountain wouldn't hit. And next slide. This module is an N-scale module, but the N-scale module is required to be 2 foot wide, deep, you should say. And normally people use them at 4 foot, but we have members in the club that go all the way up to 8 foot length modules, they want a buggy like them, they can carry them. But the only reason I could only have 1 foot. That's what I had left in the vehicle from the module the module just before this. I only have 1 foot left. So I said, well, let me see if I can make a module, and I did. It fit in great. And this this module here, woof, for families, I had an I Spy on there. There is so much on there. I don't know if you can make out the mule train on the down there. There were bears there. There's a condor, eagles, and there's all kinds of people on there. And the I Spy, and people come up and the whole family's, oh, I see this, I see that, oh, I see this. But unfortunately, if it was a big show, well attended, not too many people get to see my module because there's a whole family that are going to wait until they spotted everything. I had to take it down every so often, the sign. Next slide. All right. N-Trak. Wow. To start a show, up in the upper left-hand corner there, we all bring our cars as close to the building as we can, and we bring our modules in and set them up. And then the next slide, the next area down there, the show coordinator, he'll tell us where we're going to be setting up our modules. And then lastly, the bottom there, we lock the modules together with the connecting track, and we hook up the connections between modules below that. And lastly, we put the drape around it, and people call it Fort N-Trak, but yeah. Next slide. Yeah, this is one of the one of the chores that everyone hates, is to level your module, adjusting it for someone else, getting under there and turning these adjusting screws. No fun. Next slide, please. Well attended. All our shows are very well attended, and most of our shows were done in high school gymnasiums. Next slide. This, oh boy, we did a NMRA national show in the Hartford Civic Center, and the fellow that had raised his hand to be the show coordinator at the last minute bailed out, and I unfortunately, stuck my hand up, and myself and another member of the club said, well, we'll do it. And we were originally told that we could have 48 foot by 80 foot floor space in the center. But the NMRA found out when they reviewed their floor plan with the Civic Center, they had to have larger center aisles. They didn't have enough wide enough aisles. The fire department says, nope, those have to be 8 foot, these 6 foot, and so forth. So we lost 20 foot there, we're down to 62. But regardless, we worked on this continually, all through the month. People kept calling in. I want to be part of the layout. And in fact, there was a fellow in Philadelphia. He called and said, I want to be part of the layout, but I have 6 4 foot modules in a corner module that have to be together. Wow. Okay. We had a table set up with cards cut to scale, 2 foot, so forth, and we were shuffling these things around continually. We realized we didn't have enough space, and the people from New York wanted to come in on the module and the layout. So we hastily built 2 inside corner modules. And what it did was make the layout a U shape so that we actually come in and we're able to fit everyone in. The layout took first place in the group T-Trak. It took first place. This module here in front, I should describe a little bit on it. That's my last N-Trak module, and it is a logging module. And it's got a switchback that goes up to what they call the mountain division, or the green line at the top. And that's, I should have painted the bottom left face there with something on it so the module next to it didn't look, like it was facing a wall. But next slide. This is the side here where the camp is, and there's a junction down there, and you can actually switch off and go up and use the switchback and get up to the green line. And all those buildings there are scratch built from resin castings that I make. Even the water tower. And that one building, it's not showing up too good. It's up there in the middle right. It looks like it's all black, right next to the water tower. One day I was using some resin casting, and I took a squeegee and I was taking the excess off the ones I was doing, and it went partially into a cavity, and I couldn't believe it. I said, wow, that looks like it got burned out. So that's an old trapper's cottage up there that got burned out. The trees, I could do a presentation on that someday. Those are the wire, what do you call them, bottle brush trees? Yeah. And the Woodland Scenics pine tree armatures. And what I do is I mate the 2 together, and I dip the tree in, what do you call it, matte medium. And then I use the ground foam on it to, get rid of that shiny bottle brush look. Next slide, please. What I wanted to do with the module was to be kind of educational. And I wanted to show what the logging industry used to do way back when, clear cut. I should have put a little more erosion in there than I did. But wow, you talk about casting tree stumps. Boy, I had a lot of fun casting them. And the steam shovel, that was a one that I modified. Someday I'll give if you want, a talk on how I milled that. That's it. Next slide, please. The largest N-Trak show I've been to was the one in Timonium, Maryland. Timonium, Virginia, I'm sorry. And it was Chantilly, Virginia. I'll get it right. And the layout is in the right side center. It's like 3 fingers. And that was one large show. And I couldn't get any. If you didn't go there early in the morning, you weren't going to get a picture because it was just mobbed, continually mobbed with the public. I forgot what their attendance was, but it was really high. Next slide, please. And this is the Timonium show there. I'm sorry, Chantilly, at the Dulles Airport. Yep. Next slide, please. All right. I gave away all my N-Trak, or I donated all my N-Trak modules to the club, and for their use. And I started following this T-Trak, and as you can see, the primary advantage is the lightweight, easy to transport, and they use tabletops, which reduces setup time tremendously, and they're easier to store. As I say before, they could be used as shelf dioramas easily, All right, next slide. And this is a little blurb on T-Trak. You can go again on the N-Rail site, and you can get the brochure and the information on this here. They did change the original logo, the T-Trak up there. It was supposed to be, I don't know, trams, trolleys, two, well, anything started with two. That's what the T was standing for. But eventually, you know, they changed the logo in 2003 to the present day one, which is T-Trak and N-Scale Modular Railroading. Any questions so far? Nope. Everybody with me?
Yep.
Okay. Next slide. All right, here's some example of T-Trak modules. Now, the key to a T-Trak module is the Kato. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Their track, which is called N-Trak, and that's how it comes. It's got a connection, you know, on opposing ends, and your track snaps together in making your electrical connection and your, you know, your track connections. Your modules are normally made in millimeters because the Kato track is, you know, sold in millimeters. And I was having more problems making modules because I'm trying to convert millimeters to fraction. And like the average single module is, you know, to a certain size, but I found it easier to buy the track that I'm going to use on the module, put it together, and I have no trouble with the ends. Now the ends have to overhang 1/16 of an inch or 1 millimeter, they say. This way it'll hook up to the module next to it. Questions there? This is just some of the typical ones that, you know, they have in the book and what normally makes. And the corner module up there, that will fit on the average banquet table, which is 30 inches wide, and you'll still have a couple inches. But it shows we normally put 2 banquet tables back to back because the children, this is a hit with all the children. It's right at their eye level. They love it, and they'll sit there with their elbows on the table and wait for a train so they can, you know, eye it as close as they can. And yeah, we get sticky fingers every so often. So, but I think it's bad to put up a barricade around it, you know, because, you know, I enjoy the look of the children as they watch this. Next slide, please.
Bill, what's the curve radius?
All right, all right. That particular curve right there is yeah, got it right here. Oh. Well, the inside one is 11 inches and the outside one is 12 something, 12 3/8.
Okay.
That corner module up there is 27 3/4 inches wide, and again, it's only a you know, a little over a foot deep. Okay, good question, Jim. All right, this is one of my first single modules. This is just a single module. It's 12 inches by 12 inches, and it's an apple orchard. I had fun building it. And what I try and do, and when I ask, you know, people in the club to go put a road in a 1/2 inch from the molded base of the Kato track. This way here we have some sort of a kind of a uniformity on the, you know, from shows. But that was a good one. Next slide, please. Here's another one. Now, even though the modules are required to be 2 1/4 inches deep, you can still, as you see here, have this river, you know, as long as the sides hook up to the next module, they don't care what you do in the middle.
How
Right.
deep does it have to be? How deep do the modules have to be?
2 3/4
Feet.
no, inches. The height of the module from the table,
The track has to be 2 3/4
no,
inches.
no, it's not the track. It's to the top of your module. If
I see.
you're going to use the Kato track, which has a molded base, and all right. Now
Yeah.
the holes you see in the front there, you have to be able to adjust these up at least an inch. A lot of times the tables don't come out even. And the first thing I ever did was to do this method here because I hated picking up my module, turning the bolt a little bit, setting it back down again, finding, oh, I got to do it a little bit more, a little bit more. So what I do is I have an Allen wrench. I just stick down there and there's a set screw there and I just crank the thing up and down, and level it, have no problem. Next slide, please. Here's a double module. Now this is, if I put those two singles, they'd be the same width as this. That make sense?
Yeah, you're talking,
The
hold on a
two
minute.
single modules we just looked at right then, they are the same width as this, this here.
How long, what is the length of the module I'm looking at right now?
It's 24 inches,
What is the length of the other two modules?
1 foot.
So when you, so this is, okay.
They call it
Now-
a double.
So the width of all of them are the same. And what is that length, width?
All right, the width you're restricted to 12 inches. Not, you're really restricted to 14 inches basically, because on the average banquet table, if, as I say, that corner module is 27 3/4 inches wide. If I have two modules that exceed 14 inches, I can't put them together back to back.
Gotcha. So really you could, the largest one of these would be 12 inches long, 14 inches wide.
No, you don't find too many 14 inches. Normally they'll be 12 inches deep too.
Okay, so really, a foot, no, a 2 foot by 12 inches would be a normal
Double,
double.
right,
And a single would be 12 inches square.
correct.
Got it.
Now, the ends on this here, you can see that there's two sections of track that are not, they're not connected. Well, they are connected just for this picture, but those sections come off. That last little 2 inches come off. When I transport them, those ends sticking out, man, I've hit those so many times and broken the track loose from the module. So what I do now is I have it's a standard track. It's 2 3/8, I think it is, track. When I get to the show, I connect it. I snap it in there to connect to the next module. Okay.
And that's on both ends of that.
Yeah, both ends. You can see, right? You're not seeing my mouse, but on the ends you see a little gap there. That's so I can stick a screwdriver in there and just turn the screwdriver and the track separates.
I got you. Thank you.
Yeah, you see a little groove there, and on the other end it's more pronounced on the other end, on the left end. Yeah, I can stick a screwdriver in that little slot there and just give it a twist, and the two track sections separate. Not the middle sections; those are ballasted down on the track on the module. I can't move them. All right, next slide, please. Here's another double, and I have these box cars, these Stark Tree box cars, and this is a depot where, they unload it. That little light at the end there, that flashes. And the dock on the right, that's all scratch built, styrene and what do you call it, resin castings. But the building there is a DPM kit that I bashed, make the plant. Next
Does the
slide,
buoy
please.
light up?
The what?
The buoy,
Yeah, it flashes. It
That
just
flashes.
flashes. Next slide.
Oop.
Did you jump over one?
Yeah, I jumped over one and I went back, I hope.
Is this the next one? Okay. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a double.
because this, because
okay.
this is the stars at and then that's that one.
Okay. All right.
My
This
mouse is a little sensitive. Sorry about that.
No problem. This is another double. And that log cabin, I went and took some 1/16 inch styrene and I glued them all together and I made the walls. And then I made a mold of it and I cast the walls for that log house. I mean, the log cabin there. So that's a freelance building. The light, however, that is not. That is the what they call the Alpena Little Red Lighthouse, and it's in Alpena, Michigan. It's located on the entrance to Thunder Bay of off Lake Huron, and that is all styrene, and the legs though are brass, and the light in it, Beltronics makes it. The light goes real dim, comes up to bright, and goes back down to dim, which gives the illusion of the the lighthouse light rotating. You get the flash when it goes by you. Yeah. And the log cabin is also you can light there. There is a companion module to this too, which I didn't have in this presentation. There's a Basco bridge, on the other side. So the waterway continues across to the entire layout. I have to put these two together at the show. All right, next slide, please. This is everyone's favorite. It's a saltwater marsh, and it's another double. And that bridge back there, I made that from styrene. I love working with styrene, and toothpicks for the retaining wall. And I tried making the marsh grasses using hot glue and the bristle brushes from chip brushes. What a mess. I don't know. I can't use a hot glue gun without making threads all over the place. So I gave up. And lo and behold, this mat that we used for the back door was falling apart, and we were throwing it out. And I says, wait a minute, that might work. And they did. And I just took some, regular acrylic paints and, highlighted it here in different places. Yep. That was a fun module to make too. Yep. Next slide, please. This is everyone. This gets more boards all the time. This is Kathy's Cove. And those are all resin cast buildings, freelance. And the whole lot module is freelance. It's a freelance module. But the interesting thing about those sailfish boats coming in there, I have a friend who has a 3D printer, and I asked him to make me some boats. And you see those little boats over there on the left side? They look like kayaks. That's what he gave me. I says, Rich, those are too small. Oh, how big? I said, I don't know how big to tell you. So he made me a couple of them. That's finally the sailfish I got there. They worked out great. And I printed the sails on paper and put them on there. And then I used the smaller ones that he gave me. I use those as basically kayaks. What I want to do is make some seagulls, but N-scale seagulls are going to be a little hard. Next slide, please. Now, this one here took first place at the Big E, the Amherst show, in their T-Trak layout, Fei Chin's T-Trak layout. And it was strange. This is Flex-Trak. I tried to use Cato's, corners and radii things, and I couldn't make it without getting reverse corners, or reverse curves, which are bad on a module. So I said, well, I'll use Flex-Trak, but as long as the ends are Cato connecting, then I can hook up to any module. And there's a couple of moose down there in the river back there, and that's a beaver dam on the bridge on the left there. And the top of the tunnel lifts off in case there's anything in there that shouldn't be. I don't know if anyone recognizes the skyboard on that. That was a picture on the desktop of my Windows desktop. I said, oh, that'd be great. So I had that printed out, and that's what that is. And you can see, okay, there's a can of worms as far as electrical goes. When I first started in this, you could make just slots, put the modules together, and your electrical connections were made. But as we got bigger and bigger and longer, we were finding out the other end of the layout, trains would really slow down. So we started adding jumpers, and that's common now today. They want a bus line on these larger layouts, a bus line that runs down between that space between the two modules back to back. And you can hook up in any manner to it, which is good. And what they're trying to get some, what do you want to say, requirements of that. And they're saying probably every fourth module should have a jumper going to the bus line. And on N-Trak, there's only 2 tracks. The rail closest to you there is a red line, and the one behind you is a yellow line. And usually, again, the red line we usually use for DCC. Next slide, please. This is my favorite, and this is one here. I saw a calendar or a picture of this mill on a calendar, and I said, I've got to do that. And this is the Glade Creek grist mill, located on the Glade Creek. And I had to take artistic license with the landscaping because, you know, there's supposed to be a park in front of that. It's a large park. It's located in the Babcock State Park there in West Virginia. But the grist mill, yeah, if you go to the next slide, I'll explain that a little bit. This here is what I put in front of the module that shows so they can understand what it is. And you can see that it wasn't an actual you know, mill, but what they did was they tore down a bunch of mills and they rebuilt, or they built this one with the parts. And as it is, it's just a living monument there. You know, as it says, over 500 mills that thrived in West Virginia at the turn of the century. And when the stream permits, they will actually, the wheel runs and they will actually grind, you know, flour and buckwheat flour, you know, for the guests to purchase. Next slide, please. All right, now I'm in a prototypical buildings. And I said, no. I love covered bridges. Always have. Well, I'm from New England. Naturally, I would. But I saw this one here, the Dense Run covered bridge. And I says, oh, I've got to build that. And the Queen, that's a King Post covered bridge. And the girder bridge in the back is a Queen Post, and that's typical of most of your highways throughout the United States. And off to the very corner there left, and I'll get into that a little bit, is that abandoned gas station. Any questions here? This again is a double. The background, it's hard doing fall. I now realize how hard it is to make fall trees without looking, you know, all red and so forth and so on. And the wife did the background for me. You know, she's the artist in the family. In fact, she does my skyboard paintings. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now this is the covered bridge. That's oh, I think it's 50,000 styrene siding. You know, the roof, however, and the same on the grist mill, is a plastruck, and it's actually brick. It was a brick plastruck sheet I had. And what I did was I took an X-Acto knife and I ran down each line and started lifting them a little bit and twisting one every so often so it looks like wood shingles. You know, my thumb was so sore at the end of the day. And
Bill, you may not be able to answer this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How on earth does your wife get that beautiful look of the trees, the fall tree colors? How does she do that? I mean, it looks so realistic.
Well, she went, I made the trees in the foreground, and then she went by that in the back, and she's an artist, you know. Yep. Next slide, please. Yep, there's the Dense Run covered bridge there. And it's not on the Glade Creek, though. It's on the Monongahela River. Nice bridge. I love those bridges. Yep, you can see it's what they call a King Post. Next slide, please. All right, that's the Queen Post girder bridge that I made, and I made all from styrene parts. Oh yeah, there was some brass in there too for the, the supports, the supports. And I based all this construction on pictures you can get from the internet. Unbelievable. Like the Glade Creek grist mill, there are pictures on the internet. It's the most photographed thing in there in West Virginia. I got pictures from all angles and all sides of it. It's the most photographic, exhibit they had there. All right, next slide, please. All right, my brother, he's addicted to Pepsi Cola. I mean, I don't think this guy's ever drink water or coffee in his life. I mean, he's always got a Pepsi Cola in his hand. And he sent me this picture on the internet one day, and he says, "Hey, Bill, I want to know where this is because I'm going to go there. I'm going to buy. I'm going to get all my Pepsi there." And I says, "Yeah." So I said, "I might make a model of that." And he says, "For what?" My train layout. More power to you. All right, next slide, please. All right, there I am using my resin casting, the clapboard, siding, and I have a pretty good supply of Tichy windows and doors that I use every time I go to the Amherst show. The Tichy booth is there, and I'm always picking up stuff. And no one's going to ask me about the decal on the side, huh?
I would
What I
assume that it
did-
was printed.
How'd you do it?
What I did, well, my wife, she started it. She likes to in her she embellishes handbooks and pocketbooks and stuff. And what she does is, before she went to the Chinese silk paper, she used to take tissue paper and she used to adhere it to a piece of regular printing, regular what do you call it, paper, so you could run it through the printer. And the only thing is, I didn't have the that's, gosh, that ink will run because it's a inkjet printer. So I had to spray that thing real close, real good with what do you call it? Matte spray. And then I just put it on there and I just kept, burnishing it into the side of the building. Next slide, please.
So that's on tissue paper?
Yes, was. Yeah, it is. It is still on tissue paper. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I had to take, I took, what do you want to get? It's freelance the front of it because you didn't have the picture of the front of that building. So I figured this is what an old time, gas station would look like. And here I am trying to figure out the placement on the module for it. Next slide. Yeah, here's where it's placed on the module. And there's an old rusted out car Hulk and some other car parts in the back of it there. Next slide. This is the two modules put together, and this is the way I usually show them at the show. And it took People's Choice there in the 2018 Amherst T-Trak layout.
Beautiful modeling.
Next slide. This is what it looks like, in the daylight. Much better. I since painted the face on here, which is brown now, but I started painting them black because we usually use black tablecloths to cover the banquet tables. And I don't know, if you paint it flat black, it kind of blends into the tablecloths and it doesn't take away from the scenery. And you can see the adjusting tool there for, adjusting the height of the modules. All four corners have an adjusting screw. So these are two doubles together for I guess you call it a quad. Next slide, please.
Hey, Bill.
Yes, sir.
What do you do with the adjustment holes? Do you plug those up at the show?
No. A lot of people they stick a telephone pole in it or even a tree. I really don't care. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem to take away from it. All right, now. All right, I finally figured out a way to book these. And this is one of the end plates that I put on first. Next slide. And I booked the two modules together. So this way here, the scenery is protected. Next slide, please. And I can put this box in my truck, in my trunk, anywhere I want, and the scenery is going to be protected. Next module, please. Next slide, please. This is a corner module, and Jim, you were asking me. Now, get to it. Get to it. Get to it. All right. This track here, this module is 27 3/4 inches width, and it's made with track that's 281 millimeter radius and a 315 millimeter radius. That's standard track. And believe it or not, Kato makes elevated track. So the very center of that radius has got a slight elevation to it. You know, you can run a train at high speed there, and it looks nice. And the only thing is, you have to have the easement approaches to it. You know, so you just can't buy the two sections. They're 22.5-degree segments. So you just can't buy that to make that one corner. You have to have the easement. Now, when I did that talk on rock castings, remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, those are all my castings from rocks. Next slide, please.
So Bill, I'm assuming that radius that you're using there, I'm assuming that'll handle any in scale locomotive, passenger car, so forth.
On the outer rail, passenger cars look much better. I mean, oh yeah, you can run anything on it, but I don't know, passenger cars look dumb on it. They do.
So they need to take the wider radius that you use then.
Yeah, okay, the next module, next slide, please. All right, this is a corner I made. This one here now is using 381 and 414 millimeter elevated track. And this one come out much better. That's a scratch built, what do you want to say, freelance mill there. I didn't make it from anything, and a king post girder bridge there. And I had trouble with this module. You notice a tunnel opening there on the right.
Yeah.
I have a 100-foot car I made out of a plastic, you know, with the trucks on it, and it's 100 foot. I said, okay, this is fine. And when I put it on there, it wouldn't go through, because you got to remember that the front trucks are quite a bit further away from the back, and it wouldn't go through. I said, oh my gosh. So luckily I hadn't done any scenery on the mountains yet, so I took the casting. It's one of those castings that I bought, and I broke it in half, and I added a 1/2 inch to the middle of it and put it all back together again. And it went through great. Next I tried the clearance car. Clearance car kept hitting the radius on the corner, you know, the arch.
Mm-hmm.
So you see all the little blocks underneath it. I had to jack the whole thing up. The other side was no problem because it was coming out straight. So putting a tunnel portal on a curve is, you know, have to be very careful with it. And the two trucks there that you see, there's a screw going down through them, one screw. So when you take the truck and you turn it sideways, the adjusting hole is available. Sneaky, real sneaky.
Nice.
But anyway, that's a two-piece corner module, and I booked that one too. Yep. All right. I think the last slide next. Oh, okay. As I was saying before, I can't picture 340 modules. I mean, unbelievable. This was the world-breaking T-Trak layout there in Kansas City. And wow, that was in 2018. And that went on for 2 days, but wow. And you can see on the table there that they got 2 tables back to back. And you can see the little bit of space that's left between the 2 modules back to back. And that's where they normally drop in these bus lines so that they can hook up, hook up the modules and, make sure you have good electrical, current throughout the layout. All right, that was almost 40 N-scale miles of track. Oh, unbelievable. Last slide. Ah, that's it. Oh, I didn't know. That's the end of it. Okay, hope it didn't bore you guys.
Not at all. Not at all.
Nice work. Nice work.
Good job.
Very nice work, Bill.
Thank you.
Bill, why do you cast your buildings?
Because I want to make more than one, basically. Like I really hate to say it, like Grant Line comes out with, not Grant Line, I think it was Grant Line, had the little individual buildings.
Uh-huh.
So I made molds of each one of those walls so that I could use them elsewhere, in different buildings that I added to. Also, I make my own, like on the log cabin. I sat there and glued a bunch of 1/16 dowel, 1/16 styrene rod together and made the walls and even made the little stumps where the logs go through and, what do you call it? Log cabin up together. Yep. And then I make a mold of it and now I can use that anywhere I want and in any form.
Gotcha.
A question from the chat. When you have something as big as Kansas City, were there any problems with running trains or is everything pretty smooth?
Yeah, there is a problem. There's an electrical problem. The original standards that come out for T-Trak were the 2 outside rails are blue, the 2 inner rails, okay, we're talking about the red line and the yellow line, all right? So if you look at it from the audience, that track is blue. The next rail is white. And the next rail on the inner track is white, and then the outer track is blue again. That's the way they set it up for their turnouts and everything else. Some clubs took exception to it because they're running crossovers and everything else like that. And they're so used to wiring N-Trak where, so they want blue, white, blue, white. Okay, that's all right. As long as you know it and you go to the show and you have the provisions where you can change, if you have an electrical connection to hook into the bus line, you have a way of reversing the, then you have no problems. But I guess with all those modules and all those people there milling around and all the different clubs that were there, they did have problems, yes. But I guess that's why they started on Thursday. Yep.
What DCC system do you guys use?
I'm not into DCC. I don't understand it. And I have 2 members of the club that are with me on all the T-Trak layouts I make continuously. And he sets up his Raspberry Pi and I can use my phone. We usually go that route. And
Oh, okay.
the club, kind of strange. No one wanted to embrace T-Trak. And the club usually did 8 shows a year on N-Trak. And that was in high schools and so forth. And one time I went in and I set up a T-Trak layout of the modules I had. And they said, wow, you're all set up. I said, yeah, I'm all undone. They're all disconnected. They're in my truck. I'm ready to go. Oh, you want to give us the help tearing down the N-Trak layout? Yeah, all right, guys. Because an N-Trak layout to set up, we're usually in there, they're 7 o'clock, and we hope to have trains running by show opening, the gate opening, it's 10. That's how much labor is involved in an N-Trak layout. Putting all those little connecting tracks in and hooking up all the electrical and troubleshooting the DCC and so forth. But yet the N-Trak, good Bill, would you do your N-Trak display? We don't want a T-Trak display, at the show in Greenwich. Well, we do 2 T-Trak shows in Greenwich. We do 2 in Fairfield, and we do 1 in Torrington, and we do 1 in. Also done 2 Christmas shows, a hospital Christmas show for the children. Wow, the attendance on that and the children, it was great. And I don't know if any of you ever heard of Shrinky Dinks.
Yep.
You ever used it?
No.
Okay, well, the first show I did, it was supposed to have been Toy Story. That was the theme of their Christmas party. So I got some pictures of the figures from Toy Story, and I printed them on 3D, that plastic sheet, and that sheet is going to shrink 60%. So you have all kinds of room to draw, color, everything else like that. And as soon as you put them in the oven and they shrink 60%, they were down, well, I figured it out, they were N scale.
Huh.
And I had the pig and I had all the other things there. And I put them on there, I put a sign there, I says, gee, a bunch of figures, they're supposed to get them together, And the second one I did, what was that? Oh, the superheroes. And that I didn't use Shrinky Dinks. I just took the little N scale figures you can buy, and I just figured some with certain poses, and I made the Wonder Woman, Batman, and so forth, and Spider-Man, and I put those on the layout, But yeah, we've done a couple in the libraries here. The senior center is always asking me to come in with a short layout, which is the beauty of it is I have my own 8-foot folding tables. Normally if we go to a show for a show, they will supply me, banquet tables. But I have a couple of 8-footers that I can go into and do a library show in and out, within half a day. Yep.
So how many modules do you have total?
I really don't know. I really, really don't know.
You lost count?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I belong to an HO scale club, and that basically uses the same style of modules. And at the beginning, there was times that we're still putting it together when the show opened and all that. But we have got
that's embarrassing.
Well, we have gotten to the point now where even with our largest layout, that we are done fairly easy. It's one of those things of practice, and eventually, you get better at it.
Well, it didn't help that the original requirements for the N-Trak layouts were cinch Joan plugs. You know what those are, right?
Yes, that's what our club has.
Okay, no, they want power pole now. The requirements are for power poles. So anyone making a new module will use power poles. And we have cinch Jones, the power pole adapters in our, our club box for wiring.
Yeah, one of the things that happened with the our club is, let's see, we wound up, the club itself took its dues and all that, and actually bought like, I want to say about almost 250 plugs, sets and all that.
Cinch Jones?
Yeah, and as far as I know, we haven't run out of them yet.
Well, I prefer them over power poles. There's so many ways you can mess up on power poles. The black over, or the black under, you got red and black, and you go to hook up the guy next to you and you go, hey, wait a second, you got yours reversed. And if you put the pin in to lock those two together and get power poles, there's no way you're gonna do it. But we lived and learned, and I bet you a track selection box. You have a track selection box. What we have is a box that's because some people go, oh, it's supposed to be 2.5 inches from the end. How many little lines is that on the ruler? It never fails. So we have different length sections, shorter ones for people that, and longer ones.
Yeah, that's what
sometimes we even take a section of track and have to cut it to fit to a guy's module.
Yeah, that's one of the, we tried having early on having the certain amount in, and then somebody decided, oh, well, we want to be able to, have it butt up to the end and all this other stuff. And the thing is, we're in the Albany, New York area, and what we eventually figured out what was going wrong was, you would bring when you bring your modules from the car,
Right.
which
Oh, yes.
normally the things are out in the cold, everything shrinks, and
Yeah.
then when you start the show and all that, everything warms up and everything stretches and
Yeah, and
grows and all that.
you get a track bowing up in the air because of the yeah. Um, I had a system, but everyone turned it down. I had a piece of Atlas track,
Mhm.
and I took a Kato. Uh, it's an expandable track. Kato
Yes,
makes an
I've seen that.
expandable track, so that you could hook it onto your module, and you could hook right up to the guy's next module, no matter what. If he was too short or too long, this would snap on there. And I says, all you need is 3 for each module. And no, that's too much work. Fine, okay. Here's my modules. I'll donate them to the club. I'm going the other way. They call it Toyland. The old timers in the club with the N-Trak. Oh, you're going to Toyland. Well, they see that T-Trak is not toys anymore, and from the size of the layouts.
Yeah.
The
One of
club,
the things that I'm doing now, I took the T-Trak concept and actually turned around and used it for HO scale streetcars, because the radius is about the same.
yes,
But the thing is, obviously you got to use not so standard track and all that. So I haven't figured out how to do the curves properly and all that on the corners. But each module is
now you're using Flex Track, or you're using the Kato HO
flex track.
Flex Track.
Because,
Okay.
because I don't think Kato has anything. I don't think they do streetcar trackage in HO scale,
They
as
do it
far
in
as I
N.
know.
I don't know about HO. Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is, each module is 18 wide, 12 inches deep. That also includes the corner modules.
Have you looked at the HO T-Trak requirements?
No, because I was actually thinking about building it as a separate layout, so they're module within my my setup.
Yeah, but if you had built into the HO T-Trak requirements, then if there was a show, an HO T-Trak layout somewhere, you could take your module and put it in there.
Yeah, well, things I don't think it would have worked because mine's streetcars, so the radius is a lot sharper.
Okay, well, add their tracks on the outside. Like our club, when I first joined, there were only 3 tracks: the red line, the yellow, and the blue line, plus the mountain division. And someone decided, because we're running more DCC, they wanted an orange line, which is the one closest to right to the audience, the closest one there. So they could use it for a runaround or a siding, for a slow freight or a passenger and so forth, to make more operational, in these layouts.
Yeah. Well, the idea was, have a streetcar layout because there was a gentleman that had a O-scale streetcar layout. I don't know the full details, but it was around Hurricane Irene, and he stopped showing up. I mean, I heard rumors of different things and all that, but he was the only one that had a traction layout. So my idea was to have instead of O scale, HO scale, and have it on a table where kids could see it more because the O scaler, he had his chest high for an adult. So it was easy to see and all that, but the thing
Right.
is kids could not see it at all.
Right, yeah, yeah. Well, they carry those 5-gallon buckets around to the shows when our layouts. Yeah, kids
Mhm.
get a little 5-gallon bucket there and he plunks it there and he can get up and, but we have to put I'm sorry, sneeze guards on the front, protect them.
Yeah. So does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Bill?
I have one other module I could feature at another talk sometime whenever I want to. I went a little overboard with a T-Trak module. Now, I told you about the 2 3/4 inches high.
Yes.
I want a canyon. How can you make a canyon when they're only 2 3/4 inches off the table? Who said the two tables have to be together?
Ah.
Yep.
And I have an award-winning module. It's posted somewhere. It's got a waterfall that actually looks like the water is running. There's a drum behind it with lights and everything. It's, more people stop and look at that and they go, how? And I says, it's not leaking out there, is it? I've had a lady one time step back and go, no. And then she realized what she'd done and she gave me the dirtiest look.
Well, Bill, I do appreciate so much you sharing all of your modeling with us. It's just fantastic.
All right, Jim. How are you doing?
And I will have you back because I do want to see that waterfall and see that.
I can put a presentation on how I built that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether he's back or not. Is Rich Humphrey with us yet? I guess not.
Yeah,
I mean, wait a second. I think he's on. He just unmuted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Rich, I've been trying to find you. I guess you were in and out for a while there. The reason I want to introduce Rich to you is Rich is the one that told me about the Amherst show, and he sent me an email about it. And in talking to Rich, I found out about his club, and so I've asked Rich to be a part of our upcoming train show in March, and he agreed. So his club is going to be featured during the one of the 2 days of our train show, probably in the middle somewhere, where we'll take a break from the vendors and we'll hear Bill and see Bill and his club's layout. So Bill, I really appreciate you agreeing to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Rich, what club are you in?
South Oakland Model Railroad Club in Hazel Park, Michigan. We're a suburb of
right.
Detroit.
No.
We've got the Grand Trunk Western from the river all the way up to Durand. Actually, I'm a signal maintainer or signalman. And when I started for the Grand Trunk in 1977, worked there till 90, got kind of burned out, and then went and worked at the Henry Ford Museum and worked on old steam engines and boats and planes and carousels and trains, and got back on the contract side in 96 and been doing it ever since. And that was actually my territory. So it's kind of interesting to see the whole thing. And it's all DCC. It's all CTC. We have 3 high definition monitors, and it's all computer controlled. So, and we use radios and we run it like a real railroad. So
what building? You're normally at the Amherst show?
I'm sorry?
Do you do the Amherst show?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay.
We actually, one of our members, Dean Pyers, used to be on our board of directors. He works with the 1225 group up in Owasso, the big Berkshire. And he's kind of the one that told me about the Amherst show. So we had sent it to all our club members. We do a Zoom board meeting once a month. We do a Zoom business meeting, and we do a little get together, which we just did Friday. And I talked to my buddy Fred Cosgrove, and I said, hey, I wonder if Jim would be interested in this. And I did. And I don't know if anybody went on the show today, but it was tremendous. I had to do some signal testing up at the Huckleberry Railroad in Flint. So I put my iPad on and turned it on and listened to it all the way back. And there was some fabulous stuff. And I do plan on being on there tomorrow. So if anybody gets a chance to go on there, it was really quite something.
Good.
So I turn my video off a lot just because I'm typing away on my computer doing test sheets and all kinds of different things. I don't want to distract everybody. So
Well, Rich, I do appreciate you telling me about the Amherst show. And also, I appreciate you having your club being in our train show in March. Thank you so
Yep.
very much. Yeah.
hopefully you have some people to help me with that, because I'll be happy to go down and take some video with my iPhone, and I'll just need some help with the rest of it though.
Okay. Well, listen, next Wednesday, we've got a lot of people here. Eric Hoskins is our featured modeler, and I really think you're going to enjoy meeting him. We've got Bill Neal, who's going to talk about track planning and prototype. We've got Martin Beachville, who's the MMR, who's going to talk about scratch building. Philip Richards going to take scratch building made easy. Bob Farquhar is going to be back talking about structure building. And we have a new person that's going to talk about automation, George Bunza. And I think that it's going to be a great show. I really do. I think it's going to be different because we're going to be covering a lot of different subjects, and some new people are going to be doing segments for the show that we haven't had before. So I hope you can join us. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I hope you've learned something that'll help you in your modeling. And look forward to seeing you the next show next Wednesday. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Ed, for doing the presentation for me.